Thank you for joining me this afternoon, and I'm going to be sharing with you today and answer some questions that I think needs to be cleared up in a lot of people's thinking. Of course, in my own mind, I needed to understand this. When the scripture talks about the church, who is it speaking about? And I think that there's a lot of confusion today among a lot of believers and even maybe unbelievers who do not understand what the scripture is talking about when it talks about the church. So I'm going to answer this question, we're going to read in the book of Matthew chapter 16, and we'll start at verse 13. When Yahushua came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" And they said, "Some say you are John the Baptist, some Elijah, and some Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." And he said unto them, "But whom say ye that I am?" And Simon Peter answered and said unto him, "You art the Mashyach," or the Messiah, the Son of the living Yahuwah, or Aluhym. And Yahushua answered and said unto him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed it unto you, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say unto you that you are Peter," or Kepha in Hebrew, Kepha, "and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Now, going back through this, I'm going to just sort of take these verses apart here and just sort of explain a little bit. And the Messiah asked a question. And he asked, "Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" And of course, their response was, some say that you're John the Baptist, some say that you are Elijah, or Yahu, in Hebrew was his name. And but he said, "But who do you say that I am?" And then Simon Peter answered and said, "Thou art the Christ," or the Mashyach, the Son of the living Aluhym, or the Almighty One. And then Yahushua's response to him was that flesh and blood did not reveal that to him. In other words, it wasn't by another man. Peter wasn't taught this. It wasn't given by any kind of revelation of some kind of other person or mankind. He said, "My Father who's in heaven has revealed this unto you." Now, we know that the Father reveals things to us through his Ruach, through his Spirit. The scripture says in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 2, "But the natural man receives not the things of the Spirit of Yahuwah," but he says that they're foolishness unto them because they're spiritually understood. In other words, the natural man doesn't have the ability really to understand spiritual things. It has to be by the Ruach. It has to be by the Spirit. Now, the Mashiach said that Peter had received the revelation and the understanding of who the Messiah was by the Ruach, by the Spirit, by the revelation from the Father. And then he goes on to say that you art Peter, or Kepha in Hebrew, "Thou art Kepha, and upon this rock," or upon this revelation, really is what he's saying here. It's not upon just the rock, it's upon this foundation, upon this revelation of who the Messiah was, that the Messiah, or the Mashiach, would build his church. Wow, this is so good. And we're going to take apart what the word church is. The Messiah, or the Mashiach, did not use the English word church. And we're going to break this down for you here, what word was used. But the point I want you to see in this is that the Messiah, the Mashiach, said that his church, or his really assembly, would be the English translation of the Hebrew word that he would have used. The Mashiach did not speak English to his Jewish brethren. He was speaking Hebrew to them, and so the word actually in Hebrew is kahal, and it's the Hebrew number 6951, and the meaning of this Hebrew word is assembly or congregation. And Now, in the Greek, the word is ecclesia. It's the Greek number 1577, and it also means a gathering or an assembly. And but again, the Mashyach would not have been speaking Greek to his Jewish or his Yahudi brethren. He would have spoken Hebrew, and the Hebrew word would have been kahal. And again, the meaning of this word is assembly or congregation. So, with that said, you know, you could get a better grasp of what the Mashyach or the Messiah is actually saying here. But he's saying that his assembly would be built upon that foundation of recognizing who he was. I want to pick this up on our next session because I've got a lot to say on this. Please stay tuned. I'm going to give you some information and help share some truth from the Word of Yahuwah that will give you a better understanding of who the church is and the purpose of the church, and who also is Yasharel and the purpose for Yasharel. Thank you for joining me this afternoon, and please again share this with others, and I'll see you on our next broadcast. Shalom.